Picture this. It's like 6:30 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Right. The busiest time of the week.
Exactly. You are completely exhausted, the kids are hungry, and you just want to get something, literally anything on the table.
Yeah, you just need a win.
Right. So you reach into the pantry for that trusty can of tuna, or, maybe you open the freezer and grab a box of fish sticks. It's the ultimate quick, healthy, simple protein, right? It's just a staple. You probably don't even look twice at the label.
Oh, totally. I mean, it feels incredibly safe. Buying that can or that box is a decision you just make on autopilot.
Yeah.
Because the branding is so familiar. And frankly, because the grocery store presents it as this, pristine, reliable product.
Well, today we are taking you off autopilot. Welcome to our deep dive into the source material on the murky and honestly often deceptive waters of packaged, canned, and frozen seafood.
It gets pretty wild.
It really does. Our mission today is to take this massive stack of sources we've gathered, and we are talking federal class action lawsuits, consumer watchdog reports, independent tasting reviews, deep cover YouTube investigations, and use them as a shortcut to make you a highly informed seafood shopper.
Because honestly, the reality of what is inside those familiar cans and boxes reveals an industry that's built heavily on systemic economic incentives. And those incentives do not prioritize your health or your wallet.
No, they do not. Okay, let's unpack this. Because a recent study from Chapman University found that up to 40% of American seafood labels are inaccurate.
Wow.
Yeah, 40%.
That is, almost half the time.
Almost half the time, you are not getting what you think you are paying for. We are looking at an entire supply chain that relies heavily on optical illusions and, legal loopholes just to maintain its profit margins.
Right, and it's not just like one bad batch of fish here or there. We are seeing standard operating procedures designed to basically manipulate the consumer's perception from the absolute moment the fish is caught to the moment it hits your plate.
So let's start right at the seafood counter or, the sushi display where we buy raw tuna.
Good place to start.
Because as consumers, we have been totally conditioned to look for a very specific visual cue. When you see a piece of raw tuna, you are looking for that vibrant ruby red color.
Yep. The brighter, the better, usually.
Exactly. We associate that bright red with absolute freshness. If it has a brown tint, we assume it's old and we just walk away.
Right. And what's fascinating here is how the industry has basically weaponized our own biological cues against us.
How so?
Well, much of that bright red tuna you see is artificially manipulated.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually treated with a gas, specifically carbon monoxide or CO.
Wait, carbon monoxide? Like what comes out of a car exhaust pipe?
Literally the exact same gas.
Okay, I need you to explain the chemistry here, because pumping car exhaust into fish sounds insane.
It sounds totally crazy, right? But here's what happens. When they expose the raw tuna to carbon monoxide, the gas physically binds to the myoglobin in the fish.
Myoglobin?
Yeah, myoglobin is the protein that stores oxygen in muscle cells, and it contains pigment.
Okay, got it.
So by binding to those myoglobin pigments, the carbon monoxide prevents oxidation. It basically freezes that pigment in a cherry red state.
Wow.
And it doesn't just keep it red for, a few days. This chemical bond is so strong, it can keep a piece of tuna looking vibrant and quote-unquote fresh for up to an entire year.
A year. That is wild.
Wow.
But okay, let me push back a little bit here. If the U.S. FDA considers this practice generally recognized as safe, or GRAS, why should the average consumer panic? If the gas itself isn't poisoning me, what is the big deal?
That's a fair question. The danger isn't the toxicity of the carbon monoxide itself in those small quantities.
Okay.
The real danger is what the gas is hiding. Right, the whole reason fish turns brown as it ages is oxidation, which is just a natural indicator of decay. By artificially locking in that red color, the carbon monoxide completely masks spoilage.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you lose your primary visual indicator that the meat is rotting.
So it's like buying a used car with a fresh coat of paint that is secretly covering a completely rusted out engine block.
Yes, perfect analogy.
The paint itself isn't dangerous, but it robs you of the visual cues you need to make a safe choice. You think you are buying something pristine, but structurally it is just decaying underneath.
That is the exact perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
You are basically flying blind.
Yeah.
And there are real-world consequences to this optical illusion, you know?
Like what?
Well, this carbon monoxide treatment has been linked to severe health outbreaks, including a major salmonella incident back in 2015 that spread across 9 states.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, consumers were eating compromised, rotting fish because their eyes told them it was fresh out of the ocean.
And it is really worth noting that this is not a globally accepted practice, right?
Not at all. Treating fish with carbon monoxide is strictly banned in Japan, in Canada, and in all 27 countries in the European Union.
Wow, they just outright banned it.
Yep.
Yeah.
They recognized the deception. They saw that the economic incentive to artificially extend shelf life was totally overriding consumer safety, and they outlawed it.
But here in the U.S.
In the U.S., however, it remains perfectly legal.
That is, wow. So the takeaway for you listening right now, natural, untreated tuna will actually turn brown as it ages.
Right.
It naturally oxidizes. That slight browning isn't necessarily a bad thing. It is a sign of authenticity.
Yes.
It means the fish hasn't been chemically gassed to trick you.
Exactly. If it looks suspiciously perfectly red, it probably is.
Well, that visual deception of raw tuna makes me want to avoid the fresh counter altogether and just stick to the pantry aisle.
I don't blame you.
Because, I mean, the whole point of canned food is that it's shelf-stable and cooked.
You'd think so, yeah.
But looking through our source stack on the titans of the tuna industry, we're talking brands like Starkist, Bumblebee, and Chicken of the Sea. It seems like the deception just shifts from visual tricks to corporate supply chain tricks.
Oh, absolutely. These legacy brands have built, decades of trust through familiar mascots and catchy jingles.
Right. Everyone knows the jingles.
But behind those colorful labels, the economic realities of how they source and price their products are just staggering.
Look at Starkist. Everyone knows Charlie the tuna.
Classic.
But what the friendly branding hides is that in 2018, Starkist pleaded guilty to a massive price-fixing scheme alongside its competitors, resulting in a $100 million fine.
$100 million. Yeah, they systematically colluded to keep the prices of canned seafood artificially high for everyday consumers.
Just ripping people off.
Exactly. And on top of that economic manipulation, they were sued for making false dolphin-safe claims on their labels.
And this is where the host in me gets curious. If you are going to artificially inflate the price of your product, the product itself better be incredible.
Right? You would hope.
But independent taste testers and watchdog groups consistently rank Starkist's water-packed tuna dead last.
Yeah, the reviews are brutal.
Reviewers constantly complain about a dry, mushy texture and a lingering metallic taste.
You see a really similar pattern with Bumblebee.
Okay, what's their deal?
Well, they also pleaded guilty in that exact same price-fixing conspiracy,
Right.
which ultimately forced them to file for bankruptcy in 2019.
Wow.
But their legal troubles extend way deeper into their supply chain. They are actually facing a 2025 lawsuit filed by Indonesian fishers over severe forced labor allegations.
Forced labor.
Yeah. The lawsuit claims that the independent vessels feeding product into Bumblebee's global supply chain were keeping workers trapped against their will.
So when you buy that familiar can, you might literally be funding a supply chain tied to forced labor.
It's entirely possible based on these allegations.
And again, testing has shown elevated mercury levels in their albacore, and their sodium levels are just through the roof, like up to 320 milligrams in a tiny 5-ounce can.
It's basically a salt bomb. And then you have Chicken of the Sea, which is owned by the Thai Union Group.
Right.
Environmental groups give them failing grades because of their heavy reliance on fish aggregating devices,
Right.
or FADs.
Okay, I read about FADs in our notes, and I need you to clarify this for me.
Sure.
I always pictured them as just massive nets dragging the ocean floor, but they are actually much more insidious than that, aren't they?
They are way more complex.
Yeah.
So a FAD is essentially a massive floating object like a buoy or a raft that is just dropped into the open ocean.
Okay.
And what happens is algae grows on it, which attracts small fish,
Mm-hmm.
which then attracts larger predatory fish like tuna, and eventually it attracts sharks and sea turtles.
So it's basically a magnet for marine life.
Exactly. It creates an entire artificial ecosystem. Then the fishing vessels come along and cast massive nets around the entire FAD, scooping up every single thing in that ecosystem.
That's awful.
It results in a massive amount of bycatch. They are killing juvenile fish and endangered species indiscriminately.
And on top of that environmental impact, Consumer Reports tested Chicken of the Sea salmon products and found endocrine-disrupting phthalates.
Yeah, that was a huge finding.
I am completely lost on the mechanics of that. Phthalates are chemicals used to make plastics flexible, right?
Yes.
How on earth does a plasticizing chemical get inside a cooked salmon fillet inside an aluminum can?
It all comes down to the industrial processing.
Okay.
So phthalates are lipophilic,
Meaning?
meaning they bind very easily to fats.
Mm.
And salmon is obviously a highly fatty fish.
Right. Lots of omega-3s and fat.
Exactly. So as the fish moves through these massive industrial supply chains, sliding across plastic conveyor belts, passing through plastic tubes, or just sitting in plastic-lined storage vats before canning, the phthalates literally leach out of the machinery and migrate directly into the fat of the fish.
That is disturbing.
It really is.
Huh.
And these chemicals interfere with human hormones, which is a massive red flag for consumers.
So what does this all mean for us? If the big three legacy brands have all these compromised supply chains, my instinct is to just run to the store brand.
The warehouse brand.
Yeah. I buy Costco's Kirkland Signature products because I generally trust them to vet their suppliers. Is that a safe refuge?
Sadly, no. The house brand is often just a carefully constructed illusion.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Costco does not operate a secret fleet of pristine tuna boats. Kirkland's Signature canned tuna is actually sourced and packed by Bumblebee in the exact same factories.
Oh, wow. So you were just buying Bumblebee with a different, slightly more trusted label slapped on it.
That's exactly what you're doing. And if you look at Walmart's Great Value tuna, they sell it at rock-bottom prices. But the fine print reveals massive cross-contamination risks.
What kind of risks?
The labels warn that the tuna is packed in facilities processing trace amounts of coconut, sesame, shrimp, and eggs.
That's a nightmare for anyone with allergies.
Totally.
Speaking of manufacturing risks, we have to talk about the botulism recall.
Oh, man.
Because this was one of the most terrifying documents in our entire source stack. There was an urgent recall affecting canned tuna sold under the Goya, Van Camp's, and Trader Joe's labels because of what they called lethal lids.
Yeah, this was a massive multi-brand failure, and it all originated from a single manufacturer, Tri-Union Seafoods.
Okay.
They had a microscopic defect in their easy-open pull tab lids.
Now, hold on a second. Botulism is caused by Clostridium botulinum, which I know is an anaerobic bacteria.
Right.
It thrives in environments where there is zero oxygen. So if a defective lid lets air into the can, wouldn't that kill the bacteria? Why is a leaky lid causing botulism?
That is a brilliant question, and honestly, it is a very common misconception.
Okay, explain it to me.
The defect didn't just let ambient air in. During the industrial canning process, the cans are heated to sterilize them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're plunged into massive baths of cooling water.
Okay.
Because of the microscopic defect in those pull tab lids, as the hot cans contracted in the cold water, they acted like little vacuums. Yeah. They sucked in microscopic droplets of the factory's cooling water.
And that cooling water contained the botulism spores.
Precisely. The spores got sucked inside the can. And because the inside of the can is a sealed, oxygen-free environment, it was the absolute perfect breeding ground for those anaerobic spores to wake up and start producing lethal toxins.
That is absolutely terrifying.
It really is the worst-case scenario.
Because botulism causes muscle paralysis, right?
Yeah.
Including paralyzing the muscles you literally need to breathe.
Yes.
And the most chilling detail from the FDA reports is that this contamination alters absolutely nothing about the fish.
Nothing at all.
There is no bad smell. The can doesn't bloat up. You could mix that tuna into a sandwich and have zero idea that it is lethal.
It's completely invisible. And, that opacity of the supply chain in canned food makes me really wonder about the frozen aisle.
Oh, that is a perfect transition.
Because if a can hides the origin of the fish, a heavy layer of industrial breading hides the physical structure of the fish entirely.
Right, because when you buy premium fish sticks, you are getting a solid piece of a fish fillet.
Right, actual fish.
But when you buy modern budget fish sticks, and we're talking brands like Great Value, Kroger, or Seize the Bay, you are getting a product of mechanical separation.
Yeah, that term.
I've read the details on this, and honestly, it is deeply unappetizing. How exactly does mechanical separation work?
Well, instead of using whole fillets, these factories take the leftover frames and carcasses of the fish.
After the good meat is gone.
Exactly. After the premium meat has been cut away for restaurants, they run those bony carcasses through high-pressure scraping machines.
Ugh.
It forces the remnants through a sieve and churns whatever is left into this gray, liquid seafood paste.
It reminds me of going to the hardware store.
How so?
Buying a premium fish stick is like buying a solid plank of oak, but buying a mechanically separated fish stick is like buying particle board.
Oh, that's spot on.
It is just leftover sawdust glued together with synthetic binders to mimic the shape of real wood.
That is exactly what is happening structurally. To make that gray slurry hold the shape of a stick, they had to pump it full of binders, modified cornstarch, and highly refined seed oils.
Just to keep it from falling apart.
Right. And because literally nobody wants to eat a gray, rubbery sponge, they drenched this paste in thick batter and used dyes.
Dyes. Like food coloring.
Yes, specifically paprika and turmeric extracts.
Yeah.
They use them purely as optical illusions to make that gray paste bake into a golden, gourmet-looking crust.
Wow. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah, the lawsuit.
Yes, a massive federal class action lawsuit recently hit Conagra Brands. They are the parent company that makes Vandekamp's and Mrs. Paul's frozen fish products.
Very famous brand.
The lawsuit accuses them of using a chemical called STPP to short-weight their products. I admit, I'm completely lost here. What is STPP and how does it cheat the consumer?
Okay, so STPP stands for sodium triple phosphate.
Sodium triple phosphate.
Got it. It's actually like a commercial compound widely used in laundry detergents and water softeners.
Wait, laundry detergent in my fish?
Yep. In the seafood industry, they use it as a chemical soak. When you soak fish in STTP, the phosphates alter the proteins in the fish muscle, causing them to physically bind with massive amounts of water.
So they're forcing the fish to act like a chemical sponge.
Exactly. The lawsuit alleges this chemical bath adds 13% or more to the physical weight of the frozen product.
13%.
Yeah. And the economic incentive is clear, right? You are at the grocery store paying premium seafood prices per pound, but a significant percentage of what you are actually paying for is literally just tap water and industrial phosphates.
And the culinary result has to be awful, right?
Yeah.
You put those STPP treated fillets in the oven, and what happens to all that trapped water?
Well, as the fish cooks, the proteins contract, and they release all that chemical water.
Oh, gross.
It oozes out, leaving behind a shriveled piece of fish just sitting in a puddle of soapy white goo on your baking sheet.
I have seen that white goo. I always wondered what that was.
That's the STPP in water.
And it isn't just the fish paste that is problematic. It is the breading itself, right? The batter for brands like Vandekamp's uses maltodextrin.
Right. Maltodextrin is a highly processed carbohydrate used as a thickener.
And what does that do to you?
Metabolic health studies show it has a glycemic index that spikes a child's blood sugar twice as fast as standard table sugar.
Twice as fast.
Yeah. So parents buy these boxes thinking they are providing a healthy, lean protein for dinner, but chemically, the breading acts more like a dessert, leading to massive energy crashes.
Okay, we have waded through the muck. We have broken down the chemistry of carbon monoxide, the economics of price fixing, the reality of FADs, the leaching of phthalates, and the water weight scam of STPP.
That's a lot.
It is. Let's shift gears. How can you, listening right now, actually navigate the grocery store safely? Because there are absolutely brands out there solving these systemic issues, right?
Absolutely. There are incredible companies prioritizing transparency over optical illusions. Let's start back in the can aisle.
Okay, who's doing it right?
Safe Catch is a great example.
Yeah. Their whole model is built on addressing the massive variability of mercury in the ocean, right?
Yes, exactly. You could have two tuna caught on the exact same day in the exact same ocean, and one might have dangerous mercury levels while the other is totally fine.
Really? Just completely random.
Pretty much. And major brands just do batch testing.
Which means?
They test one random fish out of 1,000 to save money. But Safe Catch invested in proprietary technology to test every single fish individually for mercury before it ever goes into a can.
Every single one. That's impressive.
Yeah. If a fish doesn't pass their strict limit, which is 10 times lower than what the FDA allows, they reject it.
And because of that rigorous individual testing, Safe Catch is actually the official tuna of the American Pregnancy Association.
That's a huge endorsement.
What about Wild Planet? How are they bypassing the issues we saw with the legacy brands?
Wild Planet solves the bycatch issue by strictly using traditional pole and line fishing.
Meaning no giant nets.
Right. One fisherman, one pole, one fish.
Yeah.
It is highly targeted, so it completely eliminates the devastating bycatch of turtles and sharks caused by those FADs we talked about.
That's amazing.
Furthermore, Wild Planet cooks the raw fish inside the sealed can.
Wait, why does cooking it inside the can matter?
Well, mass production factories typically boil the fish on racks before canning it.
Okay.
And that causes all the natural oils and omega-3 fatty acids to literally drain out and run down the floor grates.
You lose all the good stuff.
Exactly. By raw packing the fish and cooking it inside the sealed can, Wild Planet retains 100% of those natural, vital omega-3s.
Love that. And we also have to mention the tinned fish renaissance,
Oh, absolutely.
because upscale, artisanal tinned seafood is booming right now. It is a total rejection of that industrial, mechanically separated slurry. These brands treat preserving fish as an art form.
It really is an art. Brands like Guiomar in Spain actually grill their fish over an open oakwood fire to give it a smoky depth before preserving it in high-quality olive oil.
Or Fangst out of Denmark. They cure their sardines with local Nordic herbs like heather and chamomile.
Sounds incredible.
And then you have the legendary Portuguese canneries like Pinhais and their Nuri brand. They have been doing it since 1920, and they still prepare the fish and wrap the beautiful paper tins entirely by hand.
Sure, it costs a bit more, but you are paying for actual craftsmanship,
Right.
not just marketing mascots.
Exactly. So what about the frozen aisle? If I want a fish stick that isn't made of particle board fish paste and zip ties, where am I going?
You want to look for Trident Seafoods, specifically their ultimate fish stick.
What makes it ultimate?
Well, the industry average for a budget fish stick is barely 50% actual fish. Tridents are 65% fish.
Nice.
And it isn't minced paste. They use 100% whole, wild-caught Alaskan pollock. When you bite into it, you can actually see the bright, white, intact muscle fibers flaking apart naturally.
That sounds so much better. And if you have dietary restrictions like avoiding those inflammatory seed oils or gluten, Ian's Natural Foods is the gold standard. They bypass the cheap wheat and soybean oil coatings entirely, opting for a rustic, crunchy cornmeal crust. I also have to shout out Pacific Seafood.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Their frozen options don't even look like traditional uniform sticks. They are massive, thick slabs of whole fish with completely transparent sourcing.
And finally, if you just want to bypass the supermarket supply chains entirely, you can look into direct delivery services like Vital Choice.
How do they work?
They specialize in shipping Marine Stewardship Council, or MSC, certified wild-caught seafood right to your door, from Alaskan salmon to fair trade artisan blue shrimp.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the source material, the lesson here is simple but crucial. You have to flip the box around.
Always flip the box.
Do not trust the smiling mascots or the rustic ship logos on the front. Look at the back. Look for the words 100% whole filet. Look for independent certifications from the Marine Stewardship Council or the Seafood Watch program. And if you see the words minced, mechanically separated, or sodium triptyl phosphate, just put it back on the shelf and walk away.
This raises an important question, though, for everyone listening.
What's up?
We have spent this entire time unpacking the systemic deceptions in the seafood industry. But if massive food corporations have successfully used carbon monoxide to chemically fake freshness, artificial turmeric dyes to hide gray meat paste, and phosphate chemicals to literally sell you tap water, well, how much of the rest of the supermarket perimeter, the poultry aisle, the red meat counter, the perfectly shiny produce, is built on those exact same optical illusions?
That is a terrifying thought. So next time you're at the store, look closely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.